Welcome back. If you joined us for part one, I'm so glad you're here for part two. And if you're just jumping in, you may want to go back and start there. Either way, let's dive in. You've shared that you're actually more introverted than people might expect. So, how has that shaped the way that you approach golf and relationship building?
Yeah, so the way in which I think it impacts how I got into golf and now how I still play golf is one of the things that I love about golf is you don't actually have to have another participant, right? Like me, I can go out and play golf and I don't need somebody else to go with me. I can go play by myself. Even if I get paired up with three other people, I'm still just focused on my own game. I'm playing the golf course. I'm not necessarily playing against the other three people who are in my group. Um, so I think that's what I loved about golf was because there were a lot of times that I would go out when I was younger, and I still will to this day. Although now the golf courses are so busy, it's hard to play by yourself. But I would go out and play on my own, and I loved it. I love that time to myself to just process and think and work on my own game, and I would hit extra shots, and it was great. But I think from a relationship building standpoint, and considering the business that I'm in now as a realtor. Um, I think this is where you build long-term relationships. And that is really important to me. I am not someone who likes to walk into big networking groups. I'll do it because, my profession really requires me to do it. But I
Lindsay's
don't
a
love
beast.
it.
Anyone that was wondering, Lindsay's a beast. She's a networking beast, even though she's introverted, just for your information.
I do. I think a lot of people who know me would be like, "Oh my gosh, you're really introverted," because they see me everywhere. I'm at every networking event, right? I'm always out. But I'm much better one-on-one because I know that if I'm going to really build a relationship with someone, it's time spent one-on-one. It's not it You go to these bigger networking events to meet people, and I go there to meet people, but my goal is to then sit down and have coffee with them,
Right,
right?
let's have
Really
coffee after.
understand. Yes, exactly. Or to meet them on the golf course. Like where can I start really building these relationships to have them be long term? It's the same thing in my real estate business. Like I don't see my clients as transactions. Like I don't want to get through a transaction and then have that relationship sever. I want to be in relationship with my clients long term. I want them to call me after the deal is done. I want them to call me for vendors. I want them to, when they want to understand what the value of the home is, I want them to call me. So to me, it's for me to really build authentic relationships, it's for the long term. It's not short term. And I really think that that is where you do that on the golf course. I mean, it's a great way to really get to know people because to try to, even when I go out and have coffees, to try to cram that in a 30 or 45 minute or even an hour, it's still tough. It's tough to like, okay, we got to cover off on all the personal stuff. Then we got to talk about business. Then we got to, you just feel like you're boom, 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 boom. And on a golf course, you just don't have that. There's a way that you start around understanding, like, okay, we have 4 hours, right? That we are going to be out here. So there's no reason to just try to rush and get through these conversations. So I think it just helps everyone sort of just settle in and just start from a really good space to have organic conversations. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
and if you're introverted and you're with a very small group on a golf course, it's a lot more comfortable than if you're again out at some big networking thing. It actually suits that kind of personality better, even I would say.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when I go into those big networking, I mean, again, I don't think most people would recognize this or even think this about me, but my anxiety a lot of times is through the roof with those things, right? It's like, oh my God, I'm walking into a space with 100 people. Where do I start? How's this going to go? You feel overwhelmed, and then you feel like you're trying to very quickly move from one person to the next. I mean, for me, it just doesn't feel good, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think that this revelation is going to help so many women that know you because I think again you're a very good chameleon because I think it would be very surprising to a lot of people to know like holy cow I didn't know that, but I think it's so nice to hear because again we see people out in the wild and we think oh my God, wow, she has her shit together, she's fine, this would not bother her, oh my gosh, she would never be able to relate to me. I'm having a situation, I'm like stressed, I've got anxiety, whatever. But it's so refreshing to hear like someone that you see as successful or someone that you know has been, has had to be in these kind of events and in these spaces. It's like, oh, gosh, that makes me feel better because I thought it was just me. I thought it was just me that felt like that. Or, I thought I was the only one that had anxiety. Or I think it's really
Yeah.
nice to hear. It's really refreshing.
Well, and I think the other thing about golf that's so nice too is for people who do have a lot of anxiety in those spaces, I do think fresh air makes a big difference, right? I think fresh
Yes.
air in space. So, like, instead of being, in a crowded room, potentially with low ceilings, whatever that looks like, where if you are someone who is already anxiety ridden, it is only going to get worse. And I do think that's the great benefit, one of the many benefits to golf is that you're outside, you're breathing in fresh air, and again, you're moving your body, and moving your body helps you get out of a place of anxiety. And so I think, yeah, I think all of those things are big factors. So for people who are introverted, I think golf is a great way to still be able to build relationships without having all that anxiety of going to a network.
Okay. I promised we would talk about it. I want to dig into it. You've built something really thoughtful and cool with Fairway Advantage and the work that you're doing around women and golf. I am loving it. I am so excited to be sharing this with people, and I'm so excited for people to be able to work with you and to get out and to remove some of these ridiculous invisible barriers that are stopping people from going. So, can you share what you're working on right now and how women can get involved? Just tell us all the things so we know, where to find you, how to get involved, what is it even? What are we doing here?
Yes. So I want to give just a little bit of background on how this came about first, because I do think that is important.
Yes.
So I was a golf professional for 10 years, and then I went into the business world, and I was in corporate accounting and administration and operations, and I worked for publicly traded companies. I worked for privately held companies. I have board experience. And so I think now having all of that experience gives gives me a very different framework for now teaching golf than what I had when I was a golf professional, right? Because I didn't have that
Interesting.
experience before. And so I think this is why Fairway Advantage is so different, is just because I have a much better understanding of what women are facing. I have been one of very few executives sitting in the room. I've been one of few female executives, or the only female executive, who was invited to fly over, across the country and go and play golf with the CEO because I play golf. So I understand like what those environments look like. And I've been able to now take that experience, combine it with my golf teaching skills, and create a program that I think looks very different. And I think part of it's just I was like, what can I do with my crazy resume, right? That I have, and now that I'm in real estate and networking and meeting all of these people to help women get to a better space with networking and building relationships. But I do think it is important just to highlight that I do have that experience, and now that experience is really changing the way that I am teaching golf and the way that this program will be presented. So yeah, so the program is called Fairway Advantage, and it has three different levels. And so the first level is really just for someone who is like, I have never stepped foot on a golf course. I don't know what this looks like. I have always been interested. I have had colleagues who have said to me, you really should get in the game. You should go and play in this charity tournament. You should be taking your clients out on the golf course. But I don't even know where to start, right? Like, this is completely overwhelming to me. I don't even know where to start. I don't know what to wear. I don't even know, like, when I get there, what do I do, right? So program one is really just, I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to hold your hand and I'm going to walk you through the golf course. Literally, like, we're not even swinging a golf club.
Love this because there are
Yeah.
so many questions. Like you said, what do I wear? Where do I start? What do I
Yeah.
like? I don't, do I have to have my own clubs? Like, do I have to park in a special place? I love this because I
Yes.
think what we were talking about earlier is all these questions, all these, ways we feel, vulnerable and like, I have no idea. I love that this is actually the step one, like before all the other, where all those questions and insecurities are popping up.
Yeah, I mean, even the difference between going to a public golf course and going to a private golf course. Am I going to a course where I'm going to go to a locker room and I'm going to change and I'm going to, or where someone is going to come and pick my bag out of my car and put it on a cart for me and have it waiting for me, or am I carrying my clubs, up to the golf shop and then checking in? Like even just those differences between, public courses and private courses, I think are important. So it's really just starting there. Like I want to just start very, very basic. And I don't think there's enough instruction out there, quite frankly. I mean, I've not
Yes.
run into another golf professional who is doing that. And
I've
I
never
think it's
even heard of
important.
it, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I always am. I think that's why I think this is so brilliant because I've never even heard of anyone else doing that. And in all the years that I've been playing, I 100% have never had anybody run through all of that stuff with me, and or have I ever even seen anybody run through all that stuff with someone else. So I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, when I started considering this program, I just started having a lot of coffees with women who I know who are successful in business or entrepreneurs or anybody who I thought could benefit from this program. I sat down and started having coffees, and the huge part of the feedback really was, where do I even like, I don't know what to wear. I don't know, how do I need clubs? Like all of those sorts of questions. And I was like, there's no sense in even starting this program with going straight into skill building. Like we need to have something that just covers off on these basic questions that people are going to have. And I'm not sure that I can't just have a conversation with you and tell you all these things, right? I really need to bring you to the golf course and walk you through the grounds and really talk to you about, okay, when you get here, you're going to go to the golf shop. These are the questions you can ask when you're in the golf shop. You can make tee times. You can buy range balls there. They're going to talk to you about where you go, like where does the practice facility exist? Because it differs from golf course to golf course. So getting all those questions answered, calling prior to going to the golf course. What's your dress code, right? I mean, golf has become a little bit more casual than it was when I was initially playing, but just understanding those things even before you go to the course, and then yeah, when you get there and you land there, what does it look like? And I do think I think that is honestly, Carrie, one of the biggest barriers right now for women is just not understanding what to do when I get there.
Yeah. And I would even say that, in your within your program, it doesn't hurt even if you've been golfing, it doesn't hurt to start at the beginning because even if you're familiar with golf and you've played and whatever, I always feel like it doesn't hurt because you might be telling us something in that first program um, that we've never heard before, like thinking about the etiquette versus the rules, or or the pace of play over the rules. So I think that this, first of all, again, I think it's brilliant, but I think even the first step for the first class, the first level, is great for everyone to participate, unless you're a pro, unless you're literally a pro, which I'm pretty sure that that's not who's joining these classes in the beginning, at least. Maybe
Yeah.
they become pros, but I think it's really relevant for anyone that's even if they have been playing, because again, you might say something or express something within that first walkthrough that they've never even been exposed to, and they're like, oh my gosh, aha moment. They're like, wow, I never knew that or thought of that. And great, if they know everything, then great, they're experts. But I just feel like there's so much to learn that it doesn't even hurt to have somebody in the first level class that's already been playing.
Oh, 100%. And the other thing that I don't want to have happen is I don't want someone to go out and buy golf clubs prior to coming into this program because they think, oh my gosh, I have to have my own set.
Love
There are
that.
things that people really need to understand around obtaining the right set, right? I mean, golf clubs, you really need to be fitted for clubs. And that fitting is going to different it's going to be different from golfer to golfer, and the timing of that is critical. So when you first start learning, if you go out and buy a new set of golf clubs that's geared towards a beginner, right? and you are like, I am committed to this. I am going to practice all the time. I really want to get good at this. You're going to grow out of those golf clubs pretty quickly because the shafts are probably going to have too much flex to them. They may not be right height for you. Most women's clubs, their grips are oftentimes too small, which takes grip pressure up. So there's all these other things that I'm going to talk about in terms of just from an equipment perspective. I'm like, hey, don't go out and invest in clubs until you need to, right? Like first of all, let's make sure that this is something you really want to do. Second of all, let's understand what set you should start with, and do you even need a full set? Because oftentimes when you get going, until you have a certain swing speed, it doesn't make sense for you to have a full bag of 14 clubs, right? You
I
can
swear
get
to
away
God,
with
I
having,
swear to God, my first 10 years of playing or more, I played with like a driver, a nine
yeah,
iron, and a putter.
right? Yeah,
I don't even
exactly.
think I swung any other clubs.
Yeah. It's not going to make a huge difference until you get to a certain level. Going through those clubs and getting the difference in yardages isn't going to make a huge difference. And so I would just, those are the sorts of things that I think I really want people to understand, because I don't want you to go out and make that financial commitment and then go, oh God, I just spent, whatever, $1,000 on, or 2,000 or whatever it is on new golf clubs, and that wasn't necessary. And then when you get to a certain point, it's like, okay, now you're ready to be fitted for clubs. And we want to make sure that you go through that process, because you don't want your golf swing having to change based on the golf clubs. And it will. I mean, your posture and everything else can change based on not having the right clubs and the right equipment.
Well,
So
and
even that's a big part
I
of it.
think that's a great comment as far as like getting fitted, because the thing is, I think for women coming in there probably thinking they do need their own clubs. They're like, shit, I don't even own a pair of clubs. That's okay, or a set of clubs, excuse me. And I think that's a really important note, but also like understanding that like you don't have to be a professional to get fitted. You can play for a bit, come in to these classes, play for a bit, and then go get fitted. And yeah, you might get some clubs that are off the shelf, if you will, that aren't like, $1 billion that were like specifically made for you. But by Lindsay saying, by you saying, getting fitted, it's like at least you know the right, okay, we're going to get you a driver in this ballpark, in this range. We're going to get you irons in this ballpark, in this range. And I think that's more like when you say fitted, it doesn't necessarily mean these are like only made for Carrie. It means that we're going to get you as close to, what's going to work for you that makes sense. That's there because there's so many variables on shaft, on all of the things.
Yeah. I mean, you will go through eventually, you will go through a specific fitting for you. That will happen eventually, but that doesn't need to happen at the start, because if you do, it's a fine line, because if you do it too soon and then your golf swing changes, now you've grown out of those golf clubs, right? If you do it too late, now your swing has been changing, or has been, things change because of the type of club you have. So it's a really fine line there. And that's why it's important to have some instruction and to be working with someone who understands that, who can advise you on like, hey, I think now we're at a place where you should go through a fitting, right? And you should get custom clubs, but you're going to be a little ways from that. And it's finding the right balance. And there are different philosophies on that. There are varying philosophies between the PGA and the LPGA on how they deal with that. But at the end of the day, I just don't want people to go through and make a huge investment, in clubs, and then have them be the wrong clubs, and now we're dealing with that. I'd much rather people come out, let me give you some golf clubs to help you get you going, and we just kind of see where you're at, and then we go from there. And the other important thing is too, is to be purchasing clubs. A lot of times these stores that are selling clubs will do like trade in, trade up programs. So even understanding that, where like you start with one set of clubs, you're going to come back, you're going to trade them in, they're going to give you a credit, and they're going to give you a credit towards your next set of golf clubs, right? So that's an important thing to know. But like all these just kind of tidbits that I can give you that, I do think make a big difference, even just in the program one. And like you said, even if for people who have been playing the game for a while, I still think they're going to get something out of level.
Oh my gosh, I have been playing. I don't want to give away my delicate age here, but I have been playing over 20 years and I would love to do level one because again, there are so many things that you're teaching that I may have never heard, right? So I just think it's like you can never know too much, you can never be too curious. Okay, so let's say that I am a person that has been playing for 20 years and I think, oh gosh, I don't need level one, even though they're saying go anyway. What does the program look like after level one? What
Yep.
give us an idea of what the rest of the program looks like.
Yeah, so level two is really just skills based, right? This is preparation for going onto the golf course. So everything from chipping, pitching, putting, full swing, talking about etiquette, talking about rules, everything that you would need to really prepare you to go out onto the golf course. And so that's going to rotate, and time, because I am a full-time realtor, time is a little bit of a factor here. So I'm going to rotate through those month to month, on what I'm offering. But yeah, it's really just getting you prepped to go on the golf course, working on your swing, understanding the differences in shots. Like, what is the difference between a pitch shot and a chip shot? And when do I use this shot? When do I use that shot? And this is where I'm going to start getting into like business too. Like, okay, let's talk about risk mitigation, right? Like, if we want to talk about risk mitigation in business and how that relates to golf, it's like there are things around pitch shots and chip shots when you should use one or the other, and you're going to reduce your level of risk to hit a poor shot, right? And so there are things like that I'll be talking about. When is it better to be using a putter just off the green? When are we trying to carry the golf ball to get it on the green and then let it roll out? So all of those sorts of things, and just in terms of like strategy on the golf course, and when you would hit those shots and why, and what clubs to use for those shots. Because I do think a lot of times players think, oh, I'm near the green, which means I have to use a sand wedge, or I have to use a pitching wedge, or I have to use a lob wedge. And that's not necessarily true. Like, you can actually use any club in your bag, and it's just really thinking about what is the type of shot that I'm trying to hit. What is the strategy? What am I really trying to do here, right? So just taking people through that, and again, a lot about rules and etiquette. A ton of etiquette happens on the green. So there's a lot of etiquette that comes out of my putting course, just to talk about like, hey, when does the pin actually come out? When and how do I mark my golf ball and clean it, and what does that look like? Talking about not stepping in the lines of other players, right? Repairing a divot. How do I go about that? That's the right way to do it, because we see a lot of times where people have divot repair tools. They'll put it in the ground, and the first thing they do is go straight up. Well, the thing about that is you're actually tearing the roots out of the ground. So it's not actually helping, right? So how do you repair a divot effectively? So just things like that, that I think really, again, just to try to prepare you for going on the course.
I mean, I've never spent so much time in my life thinking about a divot. But see, this is why I'm like, okay, even after 20 plus years, I'm like, I got to take course one. Okay,
Right.
so and by the way, I think this course is going to be so fabulous. You're not going to have time for doing any real estate after this. You're going to be it's such a needed thing, and it's so cool, and nobody's doing it. And quite frankly, women need to be learning and taught specifically for themselves. We've been spending so much of our lives, whether it's healthcare, whether it's golf, whatever, business, learning things the way men have done it. And this is so refreshing because it's really specific to how women play, what women need to learn, what they need to know. I highly doubt most men give a crap about what they're wearing for the, let's say 80/20, about what they wear on the golf course. I don't think it's hindering any. I've seen some of these outfits. I don't think they thought much about it. But
Yeah.
okay, and then is there like a third level, or are there more advanced levels outside of level one and two?
Yes. So then there's a third level, which is an on course. So we're actually going out on the golf course, and you're getting a playing lesson there. So that's usually 2 hours on the golf course, and really just that's getting much more into course management, right? Like, what set of tees do I play, right? Because I mean, when you go to these courses, there's going to be anywhere from 3 to 6 sets of tees, typically, depending on where you're playing. So it's like, well, where do I Where do I start? And I think there's a big stigma around tees, and there have been for a long time. It was always like the forward tees are the ladies' tees, right? And we're slowly changing that language to say that they're the forward tees, right? Because just because you're a female doesn't necessarily mean that you're playing from the forward tees, right? It's like forward, middle, back. That's really the way that we need to be looking at it. And that's how everyone, men and women both, on the playing field should be looking at it. It's like, what is my skill set? And therefore, that's going to help me determine what tees I'm playing from, right? So that's a very simple one. But then from there, really looking at how do I think about playing through this hole, right? And so for me, again, this goes back to like strategy work that we do in business. What's the end game, right? So when you're looking at where the pin is placed, um, how do I get there? And what is potentially going to be in my way? Where are the bunkers? Where are the water hazards? Where are the things that are going to get in my way? One. And so I play that hole backwards, back to the tee, which I think really gives you some good awareness of like how you're going to attack the hole. But two, what are the clubs that I'm most comfortable with? And if I know on a par, like oftentimes on a par four, if I know that I'm going to hit driver off the tee box, and that may potentially put me at hitting a pitching wedge into the green, but I'm really more comfortable with a 9 iron, even though it's going to be further from the green, I may hit 3 wood off the tee so that I can hit 9 iron into the green. If that's a club that I feel really confident with, I'd rather be swinging the club that I'm more confident with, right? So
Absolutely.
things like that. Or if I hit driver off this tee, am I potentially going to run into more bunkers? If I hit 3 wood, am I going to play it safe and keep it back and I've got more fairway to work with? So things like that, just in terms of how do I actually think about going through a hole and how do I want to approach it? What clubs do I want to hit? What are the type of shots that I'm trying to hit? Those sorts of things. And then of course, I mean, a huge part of it is rules, etiquette, pace of play, all of that, and just bringing everything together.
And with your program, like obviously you assume people are going to go one, two, three, but because of schedules, because everybody is busy and has kids and or has a busy travel schedule or whatever, um, is it are people able to go like one, three, two, like one, three, two, as far as like mixing up classes when they're available? Is that a thing, or do they have to go one, two, three? How does that work?
You don't specifically have to go one, two, three. I do have a filter on my website. So on the website, for people who are just coming to the site, there is a button that says, I'm a new participant. And I do want you to fill that form out for a number of reasons. It's also going to ask about prior injuries. I'm a former personal trainer, so I also am very concerned about how do we take care of our bodies as we're doing this as well. So I want to know that. I want to know, do you have prior experience? Do you have golf clubs? All of those. All of that pertinent information that I need to have to really make sure that I'm crafting the class that's going to be effective for you. So that's where you start, and that is going to make some suggestions around, hey, you should start at level one or you should start at level two. I think once you get through, if you've never played the game before, I highly, highly suggest you start with level one. I just think it's going to make it so much easier for you to move into level two. Once you get into level two, you may find that you want to do several classes, right, within level two before you even go onto the golf course. Now, if you're already in level two and you've taken a couple of those, and there's an on course that's coming up, and you want to go out on the golf course, and maybe you're not quite ready, but you're like, this fits really well with my schedule, I'm fine with that. Like, we will make that work. And I think it's just going to be one of those things where it's kind of like case by case basis. And I'm fine to have people call me up and say, hey, this is where I'm at. What's your suggestion? I would like to do this. And once you start working with me too, I'm going to be able to say to you, hey, you may want to take this for putting, or if not, like you're ready to get out on the golf course and let's do that. And in a couple months from now, if it works better for you to get into a putting class, then you come back and do a putting class, right? So yeah, there's some flexibility there for sure. I just want to make sure that I am setting people up for success, right? And I want to make sure we
Absolutely.
don't make so much of a leap to like, okay, none of my schedule doesn't work with level one and level two, so I'm just going to go and sign up for a level three course. That's probably not the experience I want you to have. I
Right,
really,
because
you know
you're
what I
really
mean?
trying to guide them, and
Yeah,
you really need to know
yeah.
where they're coming in at.
Yes, absolutely. My goal is to 100% set you up for success, and so I think it's just we just have to be aware of that. But yeah, I do think we can offer some flexibility. And the other thing I would say with this program is that I've offered this up to firms too to say, hey, if you have 4 or 6 women, like say they're attorneys, say they're CPAs, whatever it is, um, who you think would benefit from this. It's going to build your business. It's great team building. You're going to get your ROI is going to come back to you on this investment. If you have women out there playing with clients, this it's going to come back, right?
I
You know,
love that.
yeah,
I am thinking of several companies right now that it would be really great for. And also just getting out. And, it's outside of just practical business skills. It's
yeah,
also team building. It's
yeah.
also just getting people out from behind the screens. And I think that's a great idea.
It's
We
great.
will
Yeah.
have your website in the show notes, etc. But tell everybody where they can go to get signed up to fill out the form that you're talking about.
Yes, so joinfairwayadvantage.com is the website. You can also go to my Instagram as well. It's Fairway Advantage. And yeah, so all the information about the program is there. The April schedule is out right now. I will be doing those on a month-to-month basis, primarily because I do have to coordinate with the golf course. So I'm running this entire program at Raccoon Creek Golf Course, at least through the summer months. So there's a lot of logistics that go into that. So I really can't publish out much more than that. But yeah, it's on that site. And if anybody has any questions, just, send me an email, call me, text me. Happy to answer those questions for you too.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll put all your info in the show notes, but that's really helpful for, kind of guiding us where to go, where do we get signed up, and all that. Um, so for just back to a little bit of the personal, you spend a lot of time helping people connect in meaningful ways. Where do you personally feel most yourself? Is it on or off the course, or it could be both?
I, I spent so much time growing up outside. I spent my entire childhood outdoors. I mean, even when I was playing basketball, I was outside, right? And I think for me, being outside feels at home. So I do think there are ways that I certainly feel more comfortable on the golf course, just primarily because I love to be outside. I love playing courses that are on rivers or that have water because it reminds me a lot of home. And so yeah, I do feel like um, I'm probably my best self a lot of times on the golf course just because I like being outside so much. And again, I really do like being in smaller groups, and having real time to spend with people and listening to their stories and their experiences. I mean, there's so much that you can learn, like not just about a person, but like from somebody else's experience. And I love that. And I love that about the game. And I love that, you have that luxury of time on the golf course that we don't have anymore, with AI and tech these days. I feel like there are ways in which the hamster wheel is just getting faster and faster and faster, and we're just the expectation is that we're more productive and more productive and more productive. And I really think that we're going to start seeing major burnout, and I think that we have got to make some time to just breathe and take in fresh air. And for those of us who live in Colorado, I mean, that's a huge part of the reason why we live here, is because we have so much sunshine and we want to be able to get out and enjoy that sunshine. And I think if you can do it and you can still make it worth your while from a business standpoint, right? From a financial standpoint, why would you not? I mean, and so yeah, so for me, I really feel like it's the best of all worlds when you get to be on a golf course. And so yeah, I think for me it's being out there and being outside is a huge part of me and who I love, and just like what I love to do.
Who's listening, who's been invited to a golf outing and is thinking, I'm not ready, what would you say to her?
You're more ready than you think you are. You are more ready than you think you are. I would also say call me because we should have a discussion about that. Um, but you're more ready than you think. I mean, because I think a lot of times the first thing when people think about, if they don't know golf at all, right? If they have no knowledge of what playing around looks like or playing in a charity tournament looks like, that can be really intimidating at baseline. But once you find out what a scramble involves and the fact that you're not actually playing your own ball, there's four of you out there playing as a team, it makes a big difference, right? It makes a big difference.
Right.
And it's a really laid back, casual way to be introduced to, going out and playing. And so I think that's important is like, what am I actually, signing up for here? But yeah, you're more ready than you think you are. And it's just like anything else. It's like, okay, so I have a month and a half to prepare for this. What does this look like? Like, what can I do in that month and a half to make sure that I'm ready for it? And yeah, I think it's just like sometimes we just have to go and do, right? Like men do this every day. They go and they just do. And they don't think about like all these other details and all these other things that can get in their way. And I think really contribute to like fear of failure, right? And I will tell
Mhm.
you, Carrie, in terms of being really vulnerable on your podcast, I have a huge fear of failure. And that golf has been one of the best things to help me get through that. And I just think we just have to go and do. And yep, you're gonna have, trust me, I have had so many failed shots on the golf course, it's not even funny. And sometimes I have failed days. I mean, it's like I go out and play and I'm like, man, that was a rough round. Um, but it's just part of it. Like you just have to go and do, because then the next round may be like the best round you've ever had in your life, right? And
Right.
so just like you
And
gotta get out
I
there.
don't think for anybody it's that people just don't have fear. I think the difference is everybody has fear. It's just some people go for it even with the fear, and that holds them back. So I think learning to kind of get over that hump, and if that means doing it with golf first and then in business, then that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, last question.
Another thing I would like to
This has
throw in
been
there.
I am just so excited about your program, and it's been just so awesome chatting with you. I think that this is going to be a game changer for so many women, and I'm just like so excited for women to hear about it and to participate. But on It's Not That Serious, on our website, we highlight every month a woman in power. There are whips, we call them our whips, and uh, they're just amazing women doing amazing things. But the Women in Power highlight is really about something that's hard that they got through. That's what we look at it as. But when you hear the phrase women in power, what does that mean to you?
Well, that's a good question. I think when I hear women in power, I think about the future of humanity, of our environment. Um, I think we really need more leadership that leads from a place of compassion, and I think that women do that. And I think going back to just like being vulnerable and from a leadership place, I think I love Brene Brown and I read everything that she comes out with. And one of her things is like, you've got to get into the arena, right? You can't just be a spectator. You have to get into the arena. And I think for women who are in leadership roles, one of the best things you can do is show that you're willing to be vulnerable, right? And that happens on the golf course. When you step on the golf course, there is a way in which you are being vulnerable. And I think that demonstrates leadership skills. And I think we have to have that. And I think women in power also means empowerment, right? Like how are women empowering one another? And I think we're getting to that place, but I think historically for so long we've been operating from a place of a scarcity mindset, right? Because it was like, oh my gosh, there's only one seat at the table in this C-suite or on this board that's dedicated for a woman to be sitting there. And so I think for a lot of us, it was like, oh my gosh, we're competing with one another to try to get into this space. And I think women who are in power are now understanding, no, it's like we all have to rise together and we have to bring women up together and be vulnerable together. And the more that we do that and we operate from a place of abundance versus a place of scarcity, we're all going to come up at a much bigger and better, bigger and better ways. And I think so. To me, when I think women in power, I think I tend to lean more towards like going towards empowerment and just being vulnerable, and really just trying to bring us all up together. And that's a huge part of what I'm trying to do with this program, right? Is really just get women into a place where they can be vulnerable and show that they have those leadership skills.
Awesome. Well, I'm so happy that you came on. It's not that serious. That came to talk with us at Carrie. It's not that serious, and we're so happy to have you as a guest. And I am just so excited for this program. I think it's going to be super cool. I cannot wait to participate, and I can't wait to learn all the things. And I have you on again to talk about how
Thank you.
massively successful it is and all the amazing things you've learned once the program is really rocking and rolling.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much, Carrie. Thanks for having me on today. It's been great.
Awesome. And you guys, as usual, you can go to Carrie It's Not That Serious to listen to podcasts. All the show notes will be in there, so you can find Lindsey's information there. And of course, check us out at It's Not That Serious. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. See ya. That's a wrap on today's episode of Carrie It's Not That Serious. If this conversation resonated, subscribe and share it with a woman in power in your life. You can find more conversations, more community, and all the fun INTS merch you love at itsnotthatserious.com. We're building something meaningful here, and I'm so glad you're a part of it. Until next time, remember, it's not that serious.